This conference will now be recorded.
Uh, in yesterday's demo session, uh, we have seen what is performance testing and on a high level, and then we have seen the architecture, the load runner architecture, and what are the different components of load runner tool, and we have discussed a few question answers. In continuation to that, in today's second demo session, so we'll be discussing about the performance testing, and then again the different types of performance testing, right? So in every project we do few types of performance testing, right? So we have to understand like what are those, and why we need to test, why we need to perform those kind of tests. So as discussed yesterday, let's say there is a bank application, okay, and there are some number of users like user 1, user 2, user 3, so on to user 100. Now all these users are uh, nothing but they are real-time users, right? They are nothing but the users accessing the bank website, and they are nothing but the people accessing the bank website, right, in real time. So these users, they are simultaneously accessing the bank website. Okay, so these users are called concurrent users. In performance testing terminology, these users are called concurrent users. Okay, so if you see here, all these users who logged in simultaneously are called concurrent users. So if 100 people are accessing this particular bank website at a time, then as a performance tester we have to see how the application is responding. Okay, what are the critical business transactions, how those critical business transactions are actually behaving, performing during the load. Okay, and we have to see the response times. So as discussed, the industry standard of the response time is 2 seconds. So it could be more in some projects depending on the client requirement. Okay, so now here, now whatever we have understood about performance testing is, in a generic way, but there is some textbook kind of definition, okay, which we have to see. Even though if you attend any interview, no one is going to ask you this textbook definition, but however, we have to understand some of the terms from this particular definition, which will help us in understanding the overall performance testing concept clearly. Okay, so if you see this particular definition, performance testing is testing an application for speed, stability, and scalability in production-like environment under virtual user load to meet non-functional requirements. So this particular definition looks something complex to understand if you see it at at a time. But if you see the terminologies, these words specifically: speed, stability, scalability, production-like environment, non-functional requirements. No, if we have to understand the definitions for these, like what are these words that are being used in this particular definition. So let's begin with speed, stability, and scalability. Okay, so performance testing is measured, using this speed, stability, and scalability, guys. Earlier, way back in, let's say, 15-20 years back, performance testing was mainly measured in terms of speed only. It was not measured in terms of stability and scalability much. Okay, so what is speed? Speed is nothing but how fast the application responds to your request with expected or current load. Okay, so just now we have discussed 100 users are accessing during a peak hour of a bank website. Okay, generally bank website peak hour might be let's say 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. So in that 10 a.m. to 11 a.m., let's say 100 people are accessing the bank website. That is the peak load. So that will be the current load or the expected load for the load test. Okay, so what is speed? How fast the application responds to your request with the expected or current load. In other words, response time should be less than this SLA. SLA is nothing but service level agreement. Okay, so all the response time should be less than the SLA. The SLA will be defined by the client. Okay, and the second one is stability. Stability is nothing but the performance. Whenever you are testing any performance application for performance, let's say you are testing the application for let's say 5 hours. Okay, the performance should not degrade during the entire 5 hours of execution. Okay, that's what it means. Performance should not degrade even after using the application for a long time. Okay, if it is deployed in production and if it is running in production, okay, morning 3 hours if it is responding fast, and in the evening 3 hours it's responding very slow. No, it should not be like that. Okay, if it is in production, it should respond equally, whatever the time it is. Okay, so for that purpose, we will test the application for stability. We will test the application for 8 hours, 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, 5 days. Okay, and see how the application is behaving during this load, during this stability test. Okay, and the third one is scalability. So basically, scalability is nothing but we have to increase the user volume and see how the application is behaving. For example, the client has given you the expected peak load is 100 users. So what we will do is, so we will increase the load beyond that and see how the application is behaving. So how much percent we will increase? It depends on the client input. For example, if client says currently my application is being used by 100 users, maybe after 6 months or 1 year, the number of users might increase by 50%. That means you have to test your application to max of 150%, 150 users, right? So scalability is nothing but application's ability to handle increasing user without performance degradation. Okay, so remember these three words: speed, stability, and scalability. I will relate these three words with respect to the different types of testing, in some time now. Okay, speed, stability, and scalability. So we'll see that in some time again. Now, the next thing is, whenever you are testing a performance, okay, whenever you are testing any application for performance, the environment which you are testing should be similar to the production environment, right? So when I say it should be similar to the production environment, it means that if whatever the infrastructure, hardware infrastructure and the software infrastructure, okay, number of servers, the version, software versions, okay, hardware versions, whatever it is, hardware configurations, everything should be same in our performance testing environment as well. Okay, if you see here, first the request will go from client to web server. Okay, generally this is the flow. And from web server to load balancer to app server to DB server. Okay, now you might get it out like what is web server, what is app server, what is DB server, what is load balancer and all. So web server is more about the DOM content, loading the DOM content in the browser, okay, or displaying the web pages in the browser. It is responsible for handling that. Okay, and this load balancer, what it will do is, whatever the requests that are coming from client, okay, whatever the requests that are coming from client, it will ensure that the load is equally distributed among multiple app servers. For example, if there are 2 application servers, okay, so now if 1000 requests are coming from client, now what load balancer will do is, it will send 500 to this app server and 500 to this app server. Okay, so that the load is equally distributed. If it is not equally distributed, any one of the app server which is taking more load might crash. Okay, so that's the reason, depending on the hardware configuration, this load balancer will distribute equally the load. Okay, and the DB server is responsible for storing the data or handling the database things, right? So these are the components that are involved, okay, in the architecture, application architecture. Now, whatever the architecture is that is there in the production, it should be same in the performance testing environment also. For example, in the production we have 2 app servers. In performance testing environment also we should have 2 app servers. Now here, if you have 2, here we cannot have 1. Okay, if you have 1 in production, if you have 1, and here in performance testing environment if you have 2, then again that is also incorrect. So there is a risk involved in that case. It doesn't mean that we cannot do performance testing, okay, if these 2 are not similar, but there is a risk involved. How? For example, if there is only 1 app server in production, now in performance testing environment you configure 2 app servers and testing. Because there are 2 app servers, the load that is distributed to these 2 will be less. Okay, and when you test it, you will say everything is fine, response times are within SLA. Okay, and when it goes to production, if there is only 1 app server here which is taking the entire load, the performance might degrade. You will get higher response times. Sometimes the application might crash. Then the client will ask you, what did happen? You said performance testing environment, everything was working fine. Then if you then at the later point of time, if you compare both the configurations in production and performance testing environment, if you observe that there is difference between the configurations or the number of servers, then there will be a big issue then. Okay, so when as a performance tester, whenever you are taking any project or application for performance testing, you should always make sure that whatever the servers, whatever the configuration that is there in the production should be exactly similar in production, in performance testing environment as well. Okay, that is one important thing. So as a performance tester, we should know what is the web server they are using. Okay, what is the load balancer, what is the app server, what is the DB server, we have to know. Okay, we have web server can be IIS or Apache Tomcat, app server can be WebSphere, JBoss or something like that. Okay, and DB server can be Oracle, SQL Server, right? So we have to know these things. Okay, so this is one important concept. So I'm just telling you that it should be equally, it should be similar to the production environment. Okay, so here after this, now we'll discuss the different types of performance testing. Okay, because we know on a high level, in generically we know what is performance testing and all, and we have seen the definition, and we have seen some words as well: speed, stability, and scalability, and all we have discussed. Okay, okay. So one thing we forgot to discuss, I guess, where here. So here, production like environment we just discussed. This particular word we just discussed, production like environment. And what is this non-functional requirements? If any one of you are from functional testing, you will have a functional requirements gathering, requirements gathering document, where you will get to know, like, what is the functionality, what is the application all about, what is its architecture, what is its upstream downstream components. Okay, what exactly, what is the technology used to build it. Okay, everything. And what are the critical transactions that we have to test as part of functional testing. All those things you will see in functional requirements document, FRD. In the same way, we will have non-functional requirements here for performance testing. As part of non-functional requirements, we have to know what are the app servers, what are the DB servers, what are the web servers used, what are their configurations, what is the application architecture, what is the technology that is being used to develop the application. So everything we have to know. In some major MNCs or some major companies, or banking or financial institutions, some of the projects might not share the application architecture, to us. But at least we should know, at least orally we should know, we should discuss with them, like, what is the configuration, if they don't want to share the documents. Okay, but because if something goes wrong in the application while performance testing, without knowing the architecture of the application, we will never come to know where the issue is. Okay, so for that purpose, we have to understand the application architecture as well. Okay, you got my point, right? So here we'll discuss, for any application, what are the different types of performance testing we can do. First one is the load test. So we have 5 tests here: load test, stress test, endurance test, scalability test, and volume test. So we'll begin with load test first. So basically, load test is nothing but, it relates to the word speed. Whatever we have discussed, right? Speed. We can relate this load test to the word speed. So load test ensures that whatever the application we are testing should be stable and can handle expected load once the application is deployed. So if the client says my application should handle 500 users, so you have to perform the load test with 500 users. Okay, the load test should be performed with 500 users, and always remember that load test will be done for 1 hour. That we'll call that as peak hour. Okay, load test will be executed for 1 hour. Okay, any project, load test will be executed for 1 hour. That peak hour we have to execute, and we have to see how the application is responding, how fast the application is responding. Okay, now assume that there is expected load of 500 users. Okay, now who is giving this 500 number to us? Like, someone is coming to us and saying that you have to test my application, and he's giving some number, right? Who will give us this number, right? Client will give this number, or the application team, or some business analyst who is working with the client, they will convey us this number, like, you have to test this application with 500 users, okay, for the load test. Now my question is, how do they get this number 500? No, how can they say that, you know, we have to test with 500 users for the load test? Any input from you guys? Any idea, like how the
Yeah,
client?
yeah. From the production environment, they will check first, and then based on that, they will take the numbers
Yeah.
on the peak.
So
Yeah.
basically, the first thing they will do is they will see the historical data, because if it is an existing application, actually, I would like to take one additional session on this topic, you know, alone. Maybe during the interview sessions topics, we will discuss this again in detail. But on a high level, I'll tell you today. So, for example, if it is an existing application, okay, now after few months or few years, they are coming to us, and now they are asking us to test the application again for performance. Now, how they are deriving this number 500 is because it's an existing application. They have to see the historical data in production. Like in let's say they have to see the last 6 months data. In the last 6 months, in which month, on which day, or during which hour, more number of people access this application. So they can get this data by maybe by using some tools like Splunk or Google Analytics, or in fact some database queries. They can use some database queries. So when they get to know that during this month, this day, this particular time, you know, during this time, more number of people accessed our application. That number they will give it to us, and they'll ask us to test it for load test, because that's the max they have seen in the last 6 months, right? So that number, if we test, we have to test for load test. We have to use it for our load test. Okay, so that is for existing application. There are some there are two other criteria as well. If it is a new application, what we have to do and all, we will discuss again in detail about these things, okay, in upcoming sessions. But load test will be done for 1 hour. Okay, load test will be done for 1 hour, and it ensures that it is handling the expected load. Okay, how fast the application is responding with the given expected load. Okay, this is load test. Now next comes the stress test. So I would like to give an example here when it comes to stress test. So what is this stress test? Is conducted by increasing the user load gradually until the application breaks. Okay, so we are testing the application, or we are increasing the load gradually until the application breaks. So what will happen? Let's say there is a restaurant, and there is I don't know, there is a waiter or server who looks after the customers, to take the orders and serve the food. Okay, so let's say there are 5 tables in the restaurant. Let's say there are 5 tables in the restaurant, and this particular server or waiter, he always takes the order from the customers, and he delivers the food. Now let's say all the 5 tables are full. The restaurant owner, what he did is he added 3 more tables. He added 3 more tables. Now this particular waiter or server, he is still able to take the orders from the all 8 tables, and is able to deliver the food. Okay. Now after that, the restaurant owner, maybe he added 3 more tables. Now again, this particular waiter or server, he is able to take the order, but the time which he is taking to deliver the food, is getting delayed. For example, earlier if he used to deliver the food in 15 minutes, now he is able to deliver the food in 25 minutes, because there are more number of people, you know, in the restaurant at that point of time. Now there are 11 tables now. Previously it was only 8. Now because there are more number of tables, the load is increased on the server or wait to deliver the food, right? So the time he is taking to deliver the food is increasing, obviously. Now the restaurant owner added 4 more tables. Now the total number of tables are 15. Now the waiter or server, he is not able to take the order from the customers from all tables, and is not able to deliver the food at all. That means it's over. He alone cannot do it. That means the max he could deliver the food is for 11 tables only. That's the max. Beyond that, he couldn't deliver. He could not take orders from it, right? So gradually, there also we increase the tables, and we could see how, for how many tables max he could deliver the food. Now here also, in the same way, we will gradually increase the load and see, until, for how many users max the application is supporting. Okay. So we'll gradually increase, like 500 users, 800 users, 1200 users, 1500 users, and see where the application is breaking. and that when the application breaks, then we will tell, let's say that we started with 500 and the application is breaking at 1500 users. Now we'll tell the client that your application is breaking at 1500 users. No, that means it cannot take more than 1500 for sure. Okay, it cannot take more than 1500 users for sure. If you want more than 1500 users to access your application, either you have to increase your hardware configuration, server configuration. Okay, that's the only option. You have to increase the hardware configuration, but you have to add multiple servers there, right? So if you see, that's the issue. The objective of this test is to obtain the breaking point or saturation point, right? Once the breaking point is attained, there is noticeable errors in increase in errors, and also there is a big increase in response time also. Okay, this is all about stress testing. So hope you are getting the concepts right, load test and stress test. So if you have any doubts, you can ask me for these two before I move on to the next three. Okay, the next one is the endurance or soak or duration test. In different projects they call with different names. However, these three are same. If it is endurance test, if it is soak test, or if it is duration test, it is same. In different projects they call it different names. Okay, so what is this endurance or soak or duration test all about? So basically this particular type of test is related to the word stability, which we have discussed earlier. Okay, this particular endurance or soak or duration test is directly related to it's related to the term stability. Okay, that's why we are saying testing for stability is nothing but endurance or soak test. Okay, now why we have to do this test? Basically this test will run for 8 hours, 1 day, 3 days, 5 days, etc. Okay, so max I have seen is for 5 days, but beyond that I did not see, but 5 days, and it can be more also depending on the project and depending on the client. Okay, so why we have to test our application for 8 hours, 1 day, 3 days, 5 days? Why? Because we have to ensure that the application is responding, okay, in the same manner throughout the test. If I'm running my test for 8 hours, in the first 1 hour, if the response times are coming below 2 seconds, and in the last 1 hour, the response times are coming for 20 or 30 seconds, so there is some issue, right? There is some issue. It cannot be like that. The response time in the first 1 hour and the response times in the last 1 hour or in the middle of the test, middle 4 to 5 hours also, the response time should be constant. There can be a slight difference, but it should not be a, there should not be a big deviation. Okay, so that's the reason we will perform this test. We'll test the application for stability. Okay, so and the main purpose of this test is that we have to identify the performance bottlenecks. Okay, so if let's assume that in the first 1 hour the response times are coming less than 2 seconds, gradually the response times are increasing after 2 or 3 hours, that means there is an issue of memory leak, probably. Okay, probably there might be an issue of memory leaks. So I'm not sure if any one of you are aware of this term called memory leaks, or how it works, or what exactly it is related to. But even if you're not aware of it, it's not a problem. I'll tell you at a high level now. But when we discuss about the interview questions concepts, right? So I'll explain you in detail, and when we discuss about APM tool, right, at that point of time also I'll explain you again in detail. So generally what will happen is, for example, if it's a Java application, there's a concept called heap memory. There's a concept called memory. In that memory also we'll have a heap memory. So what is this heap memory is, if you remember C language or sorry, in Java language, how do you create objects? You will say, I don't know, if you are from IT background, you might know, like, we'll say student S1 equal to new student. That's how we create objects, right, for classes, right? Student S1 equal to new student, employee equal to new employee. We create the object using new keyword. Okay, so whenever a developer, not we, when I say not we, when the developer, while writing the code, he develops code, right? So while developing code, what he does, he creates classes, he creates objects for those classes, right? So when he creates objects for those classes, in the heap memory, some amount of memory will be allocated for that object. Okay, and once the task of that object is completed, that object should be removed or deleted. The memory should be deleted automatically. So if that doesn't happen, the memory keeps on increasing in the heap memory, and automatically at one point of time the memory will be full and the application will stop responding. Okay, for example, if you see here new obj, okay, so we will developer will create an object like this. Okay, so then some memory will be allocated in the heap memory. Let's say that heap memory is of 4 GB. Okay, let's say heap memory is of 4 GB. Okay, now we are running the test for 8 hours. We are running the test for 8 hours. Now for the first 1 hour, we are running with test with multiple users, let's say 100, 500 users, whatever it is. Now when these many number of users are being used in the back end while running the code, the application code, so thousands of objects will get created. Thousands of objects will get created using these statements. Okay, and then obviously some amount of memory will be allocated from this max memory of max heap memory. Let's say after 1 hour 1 GB of memory is utilized. Now we have only 3 GB. Now we have only 3 GB. Now again after 1 hour 1 more GB is being utilized, and again after 1 hour 1 more GB is being utilized. In the same way, after 4 hours nothing will remain, and when the memory is full, okay, and this object creation process will stop in the back end. This object creation process will stop, saying that out of memory. Then you will get out of memory error that you can see in APM tool clearly. Okay, so this is somewhat more advanced topic, and we will discuss again when we are discussing about interview questions. So on a high level, the topic what you have to understand is, whenever a developer creates objects, okay, while writing the code, he should automatically destroy those objects, okay, after using those objects, after implementing the functionality or executing the code. At the end, he should remove, or he should destroy all those unused objects. If he is not doing that, automatically there is only object creation process, but there will not be any object a deletion process. So the memory will never get free up. This memory space will never get free. It will keep on increasing. That's the reason at some point of time the memory will be full and it will throw out of memory errors. And these type of questions are definitely being asked in interviews. Okay, if you are a performance tester, they will definitely ask you a question like, have you ever seen out of memory issue in your application? If you say yes, they will ask you what happened, what is the issue, how did you identify that it's a memory issue, okay, how did they resolve it? So these answers you should be prepared. Okay, so again, we'll discuss again in future. So hope you understood this concept of endurance or soak or duration test, why we have to do this test, endurance, soak or duration. Okay, so coming to the next one, scalability test. So testing the scalability test is nothing but testing the application for future load. Okay, so as I said, if today we are testing our application with 500 users, and the client, he is assuming in future, maybe after 1 year, the client is assuming that the number of users may increase from 500 to 1000. He is assuming that after 1 year the users might increase from 500 to 1000. So keeping that in mind, today only, now only we'll execute with 1000 users and see how the application is behaving. Okay, is the current hardware configuration supporting with 1000 users or not? We have to verify them. So for that purpose, we have to perform a scalability test. So scalability test generally depends on client requirement, but generally most probably we will test with 200%. Let's say load test is done for 100%. So whatever the users we are testing for load test, scalability test we will double it. Scalability test we will double the number of users. Okay, so that's it. So here I have written, see, current expected load is 500 users, assuming 50% growth in next 1 year. So the test will be done using 750 users now. Okay, so this is related to the term scalability as usual. Initially we have discussed, right, performance testing is measured using speed, stability and scalability, right? So these are the speed is related to load test, stability is related to endurance test or soak test, scalability is related to scalability test. Okay, now we have completed four types of tests and we have only one remaining. If you have any questions, you can ask now, or else I'll go to the other one, the last one. Okay, the last one is the volume test. Guys, this particular volume test, we will not do it frequently, or in fact, I've not done in last 1 year, 2 years also. It purely depends on the client requirement. So what is this volume test is? It is 99% similar to the load test only. It will be done for 1 hour. The number of users that we will use it for volume test is the same as the load test. But the difference is we will intentionally insert huge amount of data in the database and see how the application is responding, how the database is responding, how the database server is responding. Okay, for example, today in your application you have 1 lakh records in the database. For your application you have 1 lakh records in the database. Okay, now maybe let's say after 2 years you might have 4 lakh records in the database. You might have 4 lakh records in the database after 2 years. Now what we have to do is, keeping that in mind, we have to intentionally add those remaining 3 lakh users into the database and run a load test and see how the application is behaving. When there is a huge amount of data, okay, records inserted into the database, now there might be some queries which might take longer duration to fetch the data, because the more number of records, the query might take more time, and which in turn impacts the response time, overall response time. So then if it is taking more time if some SQL queries are taking more time, then the developer will directly tune those queries now itself. Okay, then the developer directly tune those queries now itself. Okay, so assuming what can happen after 2 or 3 years, now only we are testing it. Okay, so it will be same as load test, except that huge data will be populated in the database. Purpose of this test is to check if there is any change in response time with increase in DB volumes. So I've given some example here. Currently there are 1 lakh records in DB, and assuming after 1 year there would be 4 lakh records. So the test would be currently done with 4 lakh records in database. So hope you understood these different types of testing, performance testing. So any questions you can ask me now related to performance testing or types of performance testing, or how we do it, or if you have any doubts on this, you can ask. Basically, these 3 are very important. In any project, you will do these 3: load test, endurance, scalability. These 3 are basic ones, mandatory ones. Okay, and the basis of all these tests, okay, the basis of these 4 tests is the load test. If the load test itself is failing, then we will never do these 4 tests. Okay, if the load test is failing, we will never do these tests, because in order to run this stress test, okay, that means stress test we are increasing load. When the load test itself is not working fine, what is the purpose of doing stress test? What is the purpose of running the test for so many hours when it is not running for 1 hour only? What is the purpose of running the test with double the users when the current number of users itself is not working? What is the use of increasing the records in database when it is not working with the current set of numbers, right? So that's the reason the basics of all these tests is the load test. This is a primary first test that we have to perform in any project. Okay, so endurance is also called as soak or duration test as well. Any doubts, guys? So let me know if you have any doubts. If questions could be from yesterday's session or today's session, or if anyone is attending only today, then if you have any questions with respect to this course, then you can ask questions on those as well. The next two or 3 sessions could be related to theory, because those are the important ones which every performance tester should know. Maybe the server architecture and the workload modeling. Okay, workload modeling is, I can say it's the heart of performance testing. So without workload modeling, no one can do work on performance testing. So the next 2 to 3 concepts will be more of theoretical or some calculations, mathematical calculations, and then we'll start practical sessions on scripting, like using Vusion component.
Hey, you were talking about industry standard, right? Where
Yeah.
industry standard, where it will be defined?
See, it's not specifically defined anywhere, but in the entire performance testing world, generally the standard, like they have been following since ages, like the pages should respond in 2 seconds, or it depends on project to project. So in the recent projects where we worked on cloud environment, they said it's okay for 5 seconds, right? So that's the thing. It depends on project to project, but if you have to make it generic, the standard should be 2 seconds. The page should load in 2 seconds.
Okay.
Is it called SLA?
Yeah, the service level agreement. Yes.
Okay.
So the SLS, that response times, it can be at a functionality level, or it can be at a at the step level also. For example, if you see, if it's a bank application, if you want to download a bank statement, okay, that's your primary business function. Okay, so if you say now on a high level, if I say then I have to say that download bank statement should be done in 5 seconds. Then within that download bank statement also, we have multiple steps. Like initially we will launch the application, we will log in, then we will navigate to the loan or whatever the category it is. Then we will click on some download statement, right? Then we will see how much time it is taking. So not only the download time, we will also see the previous transactions as well: launch, login, navigating to the loan tab, whatever it is. All these steps or all these transactions should follow the service level agreement. Okay. In some cases, in some projects, they will say that launch, login cannot take more than 2 seconds for sure. But however, downloading bank statement can take 5 seconds, not a problem. Okay, you can define SLS at that level also. It all depends on the client. Whatever the client says, if he's okay, then it's up to no problem. So any other questions, guys?
These types of testing, right? This we have to suggest to the client, or the client will suggest us based upon the list what we give. Yeah, say suppose if you suggest only load test and endurance test to the client, as we are new to this one working on performance testing. Say suppose we suggest only load test and endurance test. So is that fine, or client will suggest us?
Again, it depends on the client. Some clients have some technical knowledge. So when they have technical knowledge, they will directly come to us and say that can you just test this application for load or endurance or scalability, if they have some more technical knowledge. And if they don't have technical knowledge, some clients, what they do is they will inform the business analyst, or they'll inform the development team on their requirement, and they will come to us and to discuss about the performance concepts. So then when we schedule initial meetings with the application teams or the business analysts or involving clients, right? So depending on what they know currently about the performance testing, we will suggest. If they don't know anything about performance testing, so ideally we will suggest these three for sure: the load test, endurance test, and scalability test. Because as I said, performance testing is measured with respect to speed, stability, and scalability. So these three terms are directly related to these three tests: load test, endurance, and scalability. So these two are client specific requirements. After these three, client is specifically wants to know up to what extent the application servers can sustain. If they want to know specifically on that, then we have to perform this test. Again, volume test, it all depends. Again, 90% normal web applications, they won't prefer to do that. However, maybe in some projects where the project entirely depends on the data, right? So in those projects, they might do volume test. Okay. So, but the basis is load test, endurance test, and scalability. We can suggest these three to them. Any other questions, guys?
Actually, I have one question related to LG machine, load generator
Okay.
machine.
Yeah.
Why is it not recommended to install LG in our own system? Like when we are, let's say, in an organization, why the LG is not installed in the same machine in which Vusion is there, or let's say
Good.
controller?
Yeah. Good question. Good question. So we have to test our application in a realistic way, right? First thing. So why we cannot install load generator in local machine is, if you install load generator in local machine, then the request to server, application server, will go from your machine only. But what if the application in real time, the users are from different countries or different locations in a country? For example, if it's a US inbuilt, the application is being used in US alone, but in US also there are multiple states. Okay, so let's say that some of the users accessing the application are from North Carolina, some of them are from Texas, some of them are from New Jersey. So in order to make sure that the requests are coming from different sources or different places, these load generators will be configured at different places. Okay, but that means if your application server is located at a data center in New Jersey, probably the load generators can be located in, some of the load generators can be located in New Jersey along with the application server where it is resided, and some of the load generators can be resided in California, can be resided in Florida, different parts of the country or different parts of the world as well, depending on the requirement. Okay, why? Because in real-time environment, people will access the application from different parts of the world, right? So if you have installed load generator in your Vusion, where the Vusion is installed, and if you and all the virtual users will be simulated from that machine, then there is no point, right? All the requests will be going from one machine, so there to the application server. So you will never be able to calculate the network latency then. Okay, there is something called network latency, right? So there is some application which is hosted in US data center. Okay, now the person who is accessing that application from US might be able to might be getting the response time as 1 second. But if I am from India, if I'm accessing that application, might get the response time as 1.5 or 1.8 seconds or max 2 seconds. So that 0.5 or 0.8 seconds can be my network latency because I'm far away from the data server, the data center. Okay, so that's the reason multiple places will be there for load generators. Different places will be there to configure. So that's a entirely different concept. So load generator will never be from the same location.
Oh, okay, thank you.
For basic question, once we get the license for the load LR, right? We get these LGs also from LR only.
No. When you purchase, for a company project perspective, then the load generators you have to set it up along with the it's all your expenses, company's expenses to set up the load generators.
Load generators is our environment only, application environment.
Yeah,
Okay.
you can set up in application. So that is entirely, see, basically what happens is, if it's a big MNC, right? So these things, what will happen is, it will never come to the performance tester level. Okay. If it's a very small, I'm generally saying it's a small company where the number of people are maybe less. So maybe performance tester might have to involve, in interacting with the company in purchasing the license and involving in the setup, environment setup and other things. But 99% wherever you are working, by default, uh, all your companies might already have a tie-up with all the different vendors, and they might have already have that setup by now, because these tools are, are there since ages, right? So most of the companies are already tied up with these companies, and they already have that setup. So if some new client is coming up, then there is no specific requirement to go to vendor again to buy separate licenses. They'll already have it. So whatever the licenses they have, they'll use it. Whatever the infrastructure they have, they'll use it.
So when we know about the architecture, we should ask them what are our LGs for load testing. Is that correct?
Yeah. So what? Yeah, you can ask what you can ask LG configuration. You can ask where are our LGs located. So you can get this info. You can ask this information. LG's configuration, like what is the memory and all, and where these LGs are located.
Okay.
Okay. So there will be some person, like if again I said, there will be some person who will be coordinating with the performance team and the vendor directly, like from where we are purchasing the product, right? So there will be one person who will be coordinating. So he or she can get that information for us from the vendor directly. Like these are the load generators, these are the configurations, and this is where it is located. And actually the location where it is resided, even we can see in performance center. When we are running the test, actually we can see where it is resided, like in which city it is located. Generally, if they will configure in that way, by looking at the load generator name itself, we will see if the load generator name can be something like a unique number, like like let's say that it could be like AC 1 2 3 4 5, and in bracket they can say North Carolina. That means that particular load generator is from North Carolina, and we might have some other options like whether it is idle or whether it is busy, right? So whatever the LGs which are idle, we can use it. In major MNCs, we will have some multiple load generators, like 40 or 50 load generators for the entire performance team, right? So whatever the LGs are idle, you can use it, because there will be multiple team members working on your projects, right? So like the other team member might be running a test now. Okay, I might be running a test after 1 hour, or I might be running the test now itself. No, I should see what are the LGs that are available. So we will get the list there. Then we have to select our any LG which is ideal, and we can go ahead and run the test. Or we can select. There is an option to select the LG automatically. If you select if you select the option of selecting the LG automatically, whatever the LG is ideal, it will automatically pick out of the list. That is also possible. So this is all about load generators and performance testing and types of performance testing. So in the next session, we'll be discussing about the server architecture, the entire architecture and everything, and the protocols. What do you mean by protocol? And also we'll discuss about the performance testing lifecycle. So so generally, what does that mean is, like, they might ask you a question in interview, like what is the process usually followed in your project, right? Or directly they can post a question like what is the performance testing lifecycle, right? So these things we'll discuss tomorrow, and then we'll discuss about workload modeling, and then we'll start scripting. So hope you are okay with this approach.
Yeah, sure.
So I'm just stopping the recording for now.